Hello, dear students. This week we are going to be learning about complex sentences and subordinating conjunctions. By the end of this lesson, you're going to be able to explain what subordinating conjunctions do, explain what a clause is, what an independent clause is, what a dependent clause is, and you're going to be able to list some subordinating conjunctions. What is a complex sentence? A complex sentence is the one that has two clauses. Remember that a clause is a sentence with a subject and a verb. In a complex sentence, you're going to have an independent clause, which is also called a main clause, and then you're going to have a dependent clause, which is also called a subordinating clause. You will have first the independent clause, then a subordinating conjunction that is connecting the two clauses, and at the end you're going to have a dependent clause or subordinating clause. Another structure for complex sentences is the one where you have first the subordinating conjunction, then you have the dependent clause, and then you have the independent clause. When you have this structure, you're going to find a comma separating the two clauses. What is the difference between a complex sentence and a compound sentence? A complex sentence is joined by a subordinating conjunction, while a compound sentence is joined by a coordinating conjunction. When you have a subordinating conjunction, you're going to have an independent clause, which means that you have a sentence, a full sentence with a subject and a verb that expresses a complete idea or thought. And then you're going to have a subordinating clause or dependent clause that is connected to the subordinating conjunction. This is a sentence that starts with a subordinating conjunction, and then it has a subject and a verb. When you have a compound sentence, you're going to have two independent clauses or two full sentences with a subject and a verb that they have an independent meaning. They don't depend one on the other to have a meaning for the reader. In a compound sentence, you need a comma before the connector or the coordinating conjunction, while in a complex sentence, you don't need a connector between the two clauses, unless the subordinating conjunction goes at the beginning, that in that case, you will need a comma to separate both clauses. When you have a compound sentence, the connector is a coordinating conjunction or a fan voice. It could be for, and, nor, but, or, yet, or so. While for a subordinating conjunction, we will see them in the next slide. What is a subordinating conjunction? A subordinating conjunction is a word that is used to join a subordinating clause to another clause or sentence. In the screen, you have a list of the most common subordinating conjunctions that you're going to find in the English language. We have, for example, after, although, because, before, until, if, like, since, that, when, where, among others. A subordinating conjunction has three main functions. First, a subordinating conjunction joins two sentences together. Second, it makes one of the sentences depending on the other for a complete idea. In other words, it transforms an independent clause into a dependent clause, or an independent clause into a subordinating clause. And finally, a subordinating conjunction is going to indicate a logical relationship between the two ideas in the two clauses. This is another structure for complex sentences, where you have the subordinating conjunction in the middle. We are going to analyze sentence number 1. The students improve their academic writing skills because they practice organizing their ideas in clear paragraph every week. My subordinating conjunction is because. Therefore, the sentence that goes after because is going to be the subordinating clause. Because is part of this sentence. So it is subordinating the sentence to the first one. I have the subject, which is they, practice, which is the verb, and organizing their ideas in clear paragraph every week. This is going to be my complement. The main clause is the students, subject, improve, which is the verb, their academic writing skills, which is the complement. Let's see a second example. The company expanded its international operations, although it faced financial limitations during the first quarter of the year. I will start identifying the subordinating conjunction. In this case, it is although. And then the sentence that goes after, it's going to be my subordinating clause. If you look carefully at the sentence, you will see that there is not punctuation placed before or after although. I'm going to identify my subject, which is it, faced, which is my verb, financial limitations during the first quarter of the year. This is going to be the complement. So this is my subordinating clause or dependent clause. And then I have the main clause, the company, which is the subject, expanded, which is the verb, its international operations, which is the complement. In this example, the main clause, the company expanded its international operations, is a sentence that expresses a complete idea. That is why it is the main clause or independent one. While although it faced financial limitations during the first quarter of the year, it's going to be the subordinating clause because this sentence depends on the first one to express a complete idea. Here you will see the structure of a complex sentence. A complex sentence might start with a subordinating conjunction. And since you have the subordinating conjunction, the sentence that goes after the subordinating conjunction, it's considered the subordinating clause. It is subordinating because it is connected to the subordinating conjunction. When you have the subordinating conjunction at the beginning, you will need a comma to separate the subordinating clause from the main clause. And remember, in English, every sentence finishes in a period. Let's analyze the structure of the following sentence. Because they practice organizing their ideas in clear paragraph every week, the students improve their academic writing skills. The first thing that I need to do is to identify my conjunction. In this case, the subordinating conjunction is because. I need to identify the subordinating clause. The subordinating clause is the one that goes after the conjunction. They practice organizing their ideas in clear paragraph every week. This is going to be my subordinating clause. And I need to make sure that it has a subject, a verb, and a complement. So this is a complete sentence. I have a comma here because the conjunction goes at the beginning. And I have here my main clause. The students improve their academic writing skills. The students is the subject and improve is the verb. Their academic writing skills is going to be the complement. The second sentence. Although it faced financial limitations during the first quarter of the year, the company expanded its international operations. What is the subordinating conjunction in that sentence? The subordinating conjunction is although. Then I need to identify the clause, the subordinating clause. It is the sentence right after the conjunction. It faced financial limitation during the first quarter of the year. That is my subordinating clause. What is the subject? The subject is it. Faced is my verb. And then we have a complement for that sentence. I have a comma to separate the main clause from the subordinating clause, and then I have another complete sentence, which is my main clause. The company, this is going to be my subject. Expanded, this is going to be my verb. It's international operations, that is the complement. So this is the structure for a complex sentence when you have the subordinating conjunction at the beginning. Remember to add the comma to separate the two clauses and to end each sentence in a period, which is missing in sentence number 1 and it is missing in sentence number 3. A subordinating conjunction subordinates a sentence to another one. So when you have a dependent clause, it cannot be on its own. and it's another sentence to transfer a complete message or idea. One of the most common mistakes that students make when learning how to write in English is that usually they place a period or a comma before the conjunction because. That is something that you should not do. Because is a subordinating conjunction. So when it goes at the middle, it is connecting two sentences. It is connecting this sentence to the previous one. So what you need to do in this case to correct the mistake is to eliminate the period and you use a lowercase here, and then you have a full sentence. If you add punctuation before because, what you do is that you separate a sentence that is complex. Whether you're using simple sentences, compound sentences, or complex sentences, one of the most common mistakes that we can make is that we can have sentence fragments instead of full sentences. This happens when something is missing in the sentence. It might be the subject, the predicate, or that the sentence does not express a complete idea. If we analyze the following example, we are going to realize that there is a sentence fragment in this example. Let's analyze it. The project was not presented. I need to verify that there is a subject, a verb, and a complement. So far, the sentence looks good. But what happened when I analyze the second part? I have here a subordinating conjunction and a comma. I know that I don't need a comma before a subordinating conjunction. Therefore, I need to eliminate this comma. Since was not ready on time, what is missing here? I need a subject. If I have a subordinating conjunction, I need a full sentence after it. In this case, the subject is going to be it. Was is going to be the verb. Not ready on time. This is going to be the complement. So if you pay attention, there was a sentence fragment in this example due to the misplace of a comma and because the subject was missing. Let's analyze another example. In this sentence, there are also fragments. Let's analyze it. The students arrive late. I have a subject, I have a verb, and a complement. This is correct. But then I have because. What kind of conjunction is because? A subordinating conjunction. Therefore, I don't need here a semicolon. The students arrive late because the bus broke down. I have here a subject. I have here a verb, which is broke down. This is correct. And did not inform the professor in advance. Actually, I have here a coordinating conjunction and I have a comma. This is correct. Before a fanboys, you need a comma. What is missing in this sentence? Can you guess? We have a verb, did not inform. So what is missing? The subject is missing. I'm talking about the students. So the subject that is missing is the pronoun they. They did not inform the professor in advance. This is going to be the complement. So remember, when you're writing sentences, you need to make sure that they have a subject, a verb, that they express a complete idea, and that the punctuation is placed correctly. So that is all for this class, guys. I hope you learned about complex sentences.